Hello everyone, this will technically be my first or second vlog depending on when I upload it, but I just wanted to come out and say thank you for the overwhelming support I've received for that one viral video, Cinderella's Dead, and also talk a little bit about some of the things, questions that were asked in the comments and clear some misunderstandings around that video. Some people have also asked about my full story. I'll try to touch on some of that as well. But yeah, this is where I live, the beautiful Pennsylvania in the US. I just want this to be more of a candid vlog. I don't want to be spending a lot of time editing it, so I'll try to keep it short as well. If you're like me and not patient enough to listening to a long video, just me blabbering, feel free to double-X the speed. But yeah, let's get straight into it. Sorry, I had to change places. It was a little windy outside, and I thought I could also do some folding of clothes while I do this multitasking, right? But before I even begin, I want to say that I've received many emails from students, which was quite impressive. I've received emails from 12th grade students saying that they are interested in research and wanted to know more about my story. Honestly, when I was in my 12th grade, all I even cared about was, whether to do engineering or medicine, just like any other student in India does, right? So I'm glad that these days kids are actually thinking about research even at that age. But to talk about my story, I was born and raised in Kerala in India. That's where I did my bachelor's in civil engineering, and then I went on to do my master's in IIT Madras, focusing on water resources engineering. And then I worked there for a couple of years in consulting and a nonprofit organization, and then I moved to the US, which is where I got my PhD in agricultural and biological engineering, again focusing on water resources and water quality. But yeah, that's about my professional life. Currently, I work as an assistant research professor. I'm a full-time assistant research professor. That's one thing I wanted to clear. A lot of people had asked, why did you do a PhD if you had to dance in the end and make YouTube videos? Dancing is just my hobby, even content making. I'm a full-time researcher first, and I totally know what my capabilities are when it comes to dancing and content creation, so I leave that to the professionals. I don't intend to take that up as a professional career in any way. Oh, by the way, to my Malu family, namaskaram. I wish I could do this video in Malayalam, but for the sake of general audience, I'm just sticking to English. One thing I wanted to talk about was money. A lot of people had some misunderstandings around the video, and I don't blame anyone for that. There's only so much you can excuse in a 1-minute short. But a lot of people thought that, you really need to have the money and you need to be a rich kid to move to the US and do what I did. But personally, in my case, all my higher studies were on scholarship and with monthly stipend, be it the master's that I did at IIT or my PhD. I will say that I am privileged in the sense that my parents laid a good foundation, put me in good schools, and all that. So I'm privileged in that matter. But if you have to just talk about higher studies, once you acquire all the skills and if you work hard enough to build a good CV and have genuine interest and passion, that's how most of the people come to the US for a PhD, at least in my field, in engineering. A lot of people are actually on funding and on stipend to cover their living costs. So you don't really need a lot of money to move to the US if you have the enough qualifications. Also, I want others to know that, and this goes back to some of the emails I received, like people saying that, I admire you, what you have done and all that, and I really appreciate all that lovely messages. But I want everyone to know that you shouldn't really compare yourself to any other's story. I have my own story, whatever your relationship status is, whatever your education qualification is, whatever whether you wear makeup or not, whether you wear short clothes or cover yourself up in clothes, it shouldn't matter. You define your own success, and you shouldn't really compare your story to anyone else's, including mine. So I don't want, my intention was never to belittle anyone or make others' lives look small or inferior. You should be proud of what you have achieved, and it's good that the story inspired a lot of people, but it shouldn't be a reason for anyone to feel that their story isn't any better. Also, you shouldn't feel that I have the perfect life now. I have my own struggles, so does others. Even though with social media, I try to show the positives of my life, because social media already has a lot of bad things out there. So I don't want to put more of that. But nobody's life is perfect, so that's another reason why you shouldn't just compare your stories to others. The other thing I wanted to discuss was the fact that some people thought my bragging of my accomplishments were not the right thing to do, and I totally get that. I have grown up in a society with a mindset of prioritizing humbleness over confidence. If you take my experience, interviewing for jobs back in India, I always used to think that you have to remain humble. You shouldn't really brag about all these skills and achievements. But after coming to the US, my perspective has totally changed. People here know how to market themselves, no matter how big or small the accomplishments are, and I think that's the right way to go. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be humble. You should always be humble and kind, but you should also know how to really sell and market yourself. You shouldn't be afraid of bragging about your accomplishments. You worked hard for it, you earned it. So there's nothing wrong in doing that, especially if you're seeking job or trying to go to higher studies. You really need to market yourself first before others can, talk about your skills, right? So I would definitely encourage young kids to start learning to do that. People will talk no matter what, but you can be confident about what you have achieved, and your selling points the best, so go for it. And I did not want to talk a lot about my personal life, but one thing one misunderstanding I want to clear was some people thought I had married back in India and kind of ditched that person to move to the US, but that's not what happened. My parents wanted me to go for an arranged marriage, but unfortunately that's not what I wanted. So although I went against their wishes, it's not something I'm proud of. I will never be proud of that, but also I don't regret that decision. I'm happy to be where I am, what I've achieved. So just wanted to make one thing clear. People ask, what happened to your first husband and stuff. There's only one husband, and he's living with me now. So just clearing that out. The other thing is a lot of people asked about, had conversations in the comments about my religion. And I want to make one thing clear. I'm not going to talk about that on this channel ever, because honestly, it shouldn't matter. That's full stop, end of conversation right there. But yeah, that's most of the things I wanted to talk. When I started the channel, I did not intend to do any vlogs like this, and I hope going forward I don't have to keep responding to comments or clear things up. But if there is anything that I can talk about that would help a more larger audience with about things like moving to the US or education in the US or higher studies in the US, I will think about doing those videos if there's enough interest in those. But yeah, again, thanks a lot for all the love. I did not expect that at all. And before I go, thank you to the haters in the comments as well. There were a lot. thank you not just for, you know, increasing the reach of my channel, but also for, you know, keeping me grounded and making me appreciate the positive comments even more. So thank you to you as well. I'm sure there will be more comments, good and bad, even for this video. People might have comments about my accent. I get that a lot. But you know, hate is gonna hate. You just have to move on. Yeah, but that's mostly what I wanted to talk. Thank you again, and like I always say, spread love and be kind to one another. Enjoy your life. Thank you all. Bye bye.